Okay, welcome to ID24 2022.
Very much welcome. Another year has passed and we are all back together for another 24 hours of free live online talks about all things inclusive design and accessibility. My name is Leonie Watson. I'm one of the ID24 organizing crew, and I'm joined by other members of the team, including Ian.
Hello there.
And Adrian.
Good day.
We got Eric too.
Howdy.
And I think that might be everyone. Is Patrick on the call?
And I'm not sure we're even live.
Okay, so we are also joined by two guests from each of our Platinum supporters, without whose help this event, of course, would never happen, and certainly without the ease that their support has made it possible. So I'd like to welcome Stuart Hay from Intopia.
Thank you, Leonie. It's a pleasure to join you.
And also Sam Peralt from Fable.
Excellent. Great to be here as always.
Thank you. And thank you again for your support. So we are just a little under 30 minutes away from the start of the 24 hours of talks. And I don't know about the rest of you, but there is lots to look forward. But before we did dive into that, Stuart, perhaps you could tell us a little bit about why Intopia has chosen to support us this year, and indeed has done for so many years through our history.
Yeah, I've lost track of how many years we're up to now. It's several now, I think. I think it's like everything else. We're big advocates of trying to make sure that we're promoting accessibility and inclusion in a very positive way and helping build the amazing depth of information and content that is available to anyone and everyone to make it as easy as possible for people to learn about doing good things in the right way. And so Inclusive Design 24 is one of those amazing events that are happening each year that helps build up that knowledge and make it in a sense, as accessible as possible for everybody to do accessibility and inclusion in a good way. So that's one of the amazing reasons we love supporting Inclusive Design 24.
It's great to hear. Thank you. And Sam, how about you and Fable? You've been a supporter for a number of years as well.
Yeah, the thing that's so exciting about ID24 is the way inclusivity is built into the very foundation of the entire event. It's an online event, so it's global in nature. It's free to attend. It's always easy to participate and take part in. It's recorded. And I think when it comes to inclusivity, you've got to walk the walk as well as talk the talk is something that is really critically important to us at Fable. And Inclusive Design 24 has always been at the forefront of doing that, of making sure that all of this great learning and knowledge is available to everyone, no matter who they are or where they are. And of course the great variety of talks. It's not just about screen readers, or it's not just about one particular persona or type of disability or area. The talks this year especially are so exciting. There's just such a tremendous breadth in the topics that are going to be covered.
Yep, there really is, perhaps more so than any year so far. So I'm going to have to ask now, Sam, any particular talk you're looking forward to?
Oh boy, you're gonna make me pick a favorite. I mean, there's so many tips and trade-offs to designing accessible escape rooms is just something that I'm really, really interested in. I think accessible escape rooms are just fascinating. Really inclusive online conferences, I think, is so timely and so important because we've learned so much over the past few years when all of the conferences have gone online because of COVID, and it's really exciting, those kind of learnings. Power and participation in research. I'd better stop before I just list them all because they all are so incredible.
And Stuart, back to you. How about you? Anything particularly you're looking out for?
Two for me. Sam stole one of them. Samuel stole one of them, which is the accessible escape rooms. Looks fascinating, and being someone who's a bit of an escape room enthusiast, I love the idea of trying to make those inclusive as possible. The other one, because I'm not necessarily down the technical side, I tend to look at the world of accessibility about how do we use information to promote it in a positive way. And so Indisputable Truth About Ally by Johan looks interesting, where he's done some research around the use of accessibility features on mobile in a broader context. And for me, I don't think we ever have enough solid research out there for supporting the case for accessibility. A lot of the time when we talk about accessibility, we're talking about it more from a altruistic way. In a sense, it is a human right, all that sort of stuff, but when we're trying to justify it, it's being justified in more of an altruistic way, and actually having solid evidence to back that and its usage as why it's good practice, I think is always a powerful addition to the knowledge base.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I noticed we've been joined by another member of the ID24 crew, Patrick Lauker. Pat, since you've joined us, any talks you're particularly looking forward to?
His microphone might be misbehaving.
It
Because
may
it's a
well be
live
by the
event,
sound.
it's necessary for that to happen.
Of course. So Adrian, since
Oh.
yours were the dulcet tones I heard next, what about you?
Oh my. So one of the things that I particularly like about this event is that it is about more than accessibility, that it talks about inclusive principles and practices throughout. And there are a few talks that jumped out to me. There's one about minority languages. There's another talk about the publishing workflow. There's workspace inclusivity. I love that each year we still have talks on some of the technical / design oriented accessibility stuff that we're used to, but that we also have talks that go above and beyond that, and that hit on other topics that maybe we're not always thinking about when we're ensconced in our tools, looking at Figma or looking at Windows Notepad. I think that's probably only me, and just trying to barrel through our project work for the day.
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. Eric, how about you? Anything caught your attention?
I mean, no love for Notepad++. I'm sad here. I can't pick just one. I'm really looking forward to Josh and Maureen's building UX research practices for inclusion, to kind of build off of earlier statements. It's one thing to have disability testing, but I think representation is so much more important. And as a designer, I'm very excited to learn about how that threads into the field of user experience.
Mhm.
I'm also really looking forward to the Force Colors mode talk. That's a subject that's near and dear to my heart, so I am very excited to dive into that one. And then I'm also really curious about Lydia's Empathy is Broken talk, as well as the Trauma-Informed Design talk by Melissa. Those are two, I think, relatively new concepts to kind of the inclusive design field, and I'm looking forward to learning a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Ian, anything for you in particular?
Well, there's 24 of them I'm looking forward to in particular, but if I had to pick two, I think Kate Every's Dangerous Design talk, why we need to talk about design ethics, is going to be really interesting, and Stephanie Walters' A Designer's Guide to Documenting Accessibility as well. So unlike Eric, I am not a designer. I'm more on the technical side of things, but I work with designers a lot, so those two talks are particularly of interest to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I knew I shouldn't have just left myself until last, because you lot have all just practically listed the entire schedule. But yeah, I have to agree with pretty much everything everybody said. All the talks about trauma-informed design, particularly talks on neurodiversity, are always of interest to me, because it's not an area I know a great deal about, or nearly enough about. Personal interest, I think Laura and Sphere's talk about the 360 accessible publishing is interesting. As a screen reader user myself, so a user of digital reading content, making that more accessible and available is definitely of interest. Conversely, the other one I'm really interested in is Preeti and Shashank's talk on accessibility for speech recognition. I spend my life listening to stuff, and every time I try and talk to it, one almighty racket kicks off, because talking and listening to technology all at once is really a good experience. So again, it's not something I've got much experience of, so finding out more about how speech recog users do it, and what helps them will be really interesting, I think. Pat,
Yeah.
do we have? Oh, sorry, Eric, go for it.
Yeah, no, I was just going to say, I think I'm also noticing every year more and more there is more and more of a theme of all of the talks at ID24 really being about creating processes and ongoing things that happen and ongoing changes within organizations, which I think is really interesting, right? Like, I remember the days 4 or 5 years ago when all anyone wanted to sort of talk about was the technically correct way to do things and the web guidelines and sort of the changes that we could just, make and talk about once and be done with. And I'm really noticing this year and as the years have gone on that more and more of the things we're talking about are new processes and changes in process and changes in culture of organizations and things like that. And I think that's so important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think all of us who've spent the amount of time that we all have in this particular field, we've all seen organizations struggling to make the transition, sometimes even in small ways. And I think we're really fortunate to have had such a great selection of talks. And I'm really, really excited. Anybody else got any thoughts? Stuart, any?
I'm just building on a little bit of what Samuel said. I mean, I think it's something I've always observed. I'd like to still think of myself as being more recent into the accessibility and inclusion community. It's several years now for me, but one thing I observed very early on was, I think, a failure that we had as a community to recognize that it's all about the people side of things. Like, we would get caught on the technical side, we would get caught on the legal side, we would get caught on the human rights side. And it's not saying none of that's wrong, but we ultimately forgot the fact that it's actually people we have to convince, it's organizations we have to shift their approaches and their thinking. And so, yeah, a lot of these talks we're seeing in ID24 for the last few years now is fantastic, and I think starts to shift. I would like to think our community's thinking towards, we've got to remember it's the people. We win the hearts and minds of people, convince them and help them do things the right way, a better way, easier way, then we end up with an outcome where we hopefully have a more inclusive environment for everybody. And that's not something that happens overnight. That's a long journey that we are treading. But the more of us doing this sort of communication and sharing this knowledge, the hopefully easier it is for everyone, and the faster we get to the end of that journey.
I think that's a good. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I wanted to build a little bit, because Stuart said something that I think is really important, and I think it shows through in a lot of the talks that we have queued up and the conversations I hear afterward, which is primarily accessibility is about people. In the end, fundamentally, whatever technical process you go through, design process, whichever managers you have to strong arm in a back alley to get what you need, whatever that process is, we're all in the end fundamentally trying to make better experiences for our fellow humans. And a lot of the talks that are queued up are talking about, are really going over people's experiences, expectations, what those outcomes are for users. And I really like that industry-wide, we're having better conversations about people as opposed to standards and specs and checkboxes and other things. So I appreciate you noting that, Stuart, and I'm sure other people would have noted that if I didn't start interrupting as well.
That's very true, isn't it? And something you mentioned, Stuart, as well. I think knowledge sharing is something we all do. Most of the organizations we work for and with share their knowledge in one way or another: conference talks, blog posts, conference talks like this, running conferences, all of these things. And I don't know about the rest of you, but I think this is such an important step because it normalizes the message, it normalizes the information, it makes it seem like all the other stuff you find at different conferences: privacy, security, the latest JavaScript framework, latest design platform, whatever it may be. And I really hope that the ID24 introduces a lot more people to a lot more different topics and gets people interested and excited as much as anything.
Yeah, I think this is a really exciting time as well to be in this space. It's no longer a question of like, do you have even a person at your organization that knows about, much less is practicing accessibility? And now we're starting to see organizations proactively creating accessibility teams because it is the right thing to do. It's a good thing to do for quality of life and experience in a product. And I think, kind of to build off what everyone's been saying, we're starting to see that thematically represented. And one of the things that I enjoy big picture about this year's lineup is a lot of that process is, potentially really hard fought, built up over the years, but it's being pulled out of a silo of an organization and shared. And I think the accessibility community is a great community in that we take these learnings and this knowledge and share it with our coworkers and our friends, and we can all kind of lift each other up through events like this.
And I think it's really interesting as well that I think we're all coming to realize that these processes are not barriers that you have to jump over to get your work done or hoops that you have to go through. I think we're helping people understand that if you are a designer or a developer or a project manager, these processes help you do better work and make better things. And it's not, when you talk about kind of coding standards and legal requirements, I think there can be a thinking that people think of accessibility as, oh, it's these checkboxes I got to check, it's these barriers I've got to get over just so I can get my job done.
Yeah, you're right. And the more we can, get people to recognize there's a time and a place for that, but actually there's a much better way to approach it. And that's to get interested, get excited, get knowledgeable, and then just get on with it. I think if we can achieve that, we'll have done a reasonably good job of it. Whether we can achieve that in the next 24 hours, perhaps it remains to be seen, but I say let's give it our best effort along with all our speakers. And on that note, we do have to wrap up this pre-conference session now. I would like to thank all of the ID24 crew members who joined me here today, Stuart and Sam, for joining us, and also for your organization's platinum support of this year's event. For everybody who's tuned in, we will be back on the hour with the first of 24 talks.